Chapter 2. The story you tell determines the strength you keep. Your past has no power until you decide what it means. Think about that for a moment. The events you've lived through are real. The disappointments happened. The heartbreak was painful. The failures were frustrating. The moments that left you questioning yourself were not imagined. No one is asking you to deny what you've experienced or pretend that difficult seasons were somehow easy. But there is something remarkable about the human mind. It doesn't simply remember experiences. It remembers the stories attached to those experiences. Two people can walk through the exact same storm and arrive at completely different destinations. Not because the storm treated them differently, but because they assigned different meanings to what happened. One person says, "This experience proved I'll never succeed." The other says, "This experience showed me what I needed to learn." The event is identical. The future is not. That is one of the greatest powers you possess. Not the power to erase your past, but the power to redefine it. You may not have noticed this before, but every memory you carry has two parts. The first is the event itself. The second is the interpretation you've repeated ever since. Over time, most people stop remembering the event. They remember the story. And eventually, the story becomes their identity. Imagine someone who was rejected for a promotion they desperately wanted. The rejection lasts one afternoon, but the story might continue for 20 years. They didn't think I was good enough. I always get overlooked. People like me never get opportunities. Those sentences slowly become beliefs. Those beliefs quietly become decisions. Those decisions become habits. And those habits begin shaping an entirely different future than the rejection ever could have by itself. The rejection wasn't what limited them. The story did. Change the story. Change the future. Allow those words to settle into your mind. Change the story. Change the future. Because every day you wake up, your subconscious mind asks a simple question. What kind of person am I? It doesn't search for the truth. It searches for consistency. If you've spent years telling yourself that you're unlucky, your mind will search for proof. If you've convinced yourself that failure follows you everywhere, your brain becomes remarkably efficient at noticing every small disappointment while overlooking every victory. It's not because life changed. It's because attention follows belief. Here's something fascinating about the way your brain works. It is constantly filtering millions of pieces of information every second. It cannot consciously process everything. So instead, it looks for evidence supporting the identity you've already accepted. Think about buying a new car. Perhaps you've experienced this yourself. Before buying it, you hardly noticed that model anywhere. Then suddenly, it seems like everyone owns the same vehicle. The cars didn't magically appear overnight. Your awareness changed. Life often works the same way. When you believe opportunities are everywhere, you begin noticing possibilities. When you believe every obstacle is preparing you, you begin discovering lessons. When you believe life is against you, your mind becomes an expert at collecting evidence. The world often reflects the story you're expecting to find. Pause for a moment. What story has your mind been collecting evidence for lately? Have you been proving that you're capable, or proving that you're limited? Neither happens accidentally. Both begin with interpretation. That realization changes everything, because it means your future isn't chained to your past. It's connected to the meaning you continue assigning to it. This is why two athletes can experience the same devastating injury and end up living completely different lives. Imagine two runners training for the biggest competition of their careers. Months of preparation, countless early mornings, sacrifices no one else ever saw. Then, only weeks before the event, both suffer the same serious injury. Their dreams appear shattered. The first athlete says, "This proves my career is over." Bitterness slowly replaces determination. Training stops. Hope fades. Eventually, the injury becomes the defining chapter of their story. The second athlete grieves too. The pain is just as real. The disappointment cuts just as deeply. But after the emotions settle, they begin asking different questions. What can I learn? How can I come back stronger? What qualities can this experience develop that winning never could? Months later, they're rebuilding. Not because the injury disappeared, but because the story changed. One saw an ending. The other saw preparation. The injury was the same. The meaning was completely different. Change the story. Change the future. History is filled with people who understood this principle long before they had words to explain it. Entrepreneurs whose first businesses collapsed. Authors whose manuscripts were rejected dozens of times. Scientists whose experiments failed thousands of times before one breakthrough changed the world. What separated them wasn't an easier journey. It was a different interpretation of failure. They refused to let temporary outcomes become permanent identities. Failure became feedback. Delay became development. Obstacles became education. Every setback became another chapter, not the conclusion of the book. You may not have noticed this before, but your mind is always asking one quiet question after something difficult happens. What does this mean about me? If you're not intentional, your fears answer first. And fear is a terrible storyteller. Fear exaggerates. Fear predicts endings that never arrive. Fear mistakes temporary seasons for permanent realities. Fear whispers, "You'll never recover. You've missed your chance. Everyone else is ahead. You're not enough." The tragedy isn't that fear speaks. The tragedy is when we believe it without questioning it. Because every story deserves to be examined before it becomes accepted as truth. Think back to a difficult season you've already survived. At the time, how many things did you believe would never improve? How many worries eventually disappeared? How many fears never actually came true? Your past quietly proves something remarkable. Your emotions are real, but they are not always accurate predictions of your future. Sometimes they simply reflect the story you've been rehearsing. And stories can be rewritten, not by pretending the past never happened, not by convincing yourself that painful experiences weren't painful, but by choosing to see those experiences through a lens that serves your future instead of imprisoning it. That is where emotional recovery truly begins. Many people believe healing comes from the passage of time. Time certainly helps. Distance creates perspective. Wounds gradually become less tender. But time alone doesn't heal every heart. If it did, no one would still be carrying burdens from 20 years ago. No one would still hear the voice of a teacher who told them they weren't smart enough. No one would still replay the rejection that happened decades earlier. No one would still allow a single failure to define an entire lifetime. Time moves everyone forward. Growth is a choice. Healing is a decision. And one of the most powerful decisions you'll ever make is deciding that your past will become a teacher rather than a prison. Think about how differently you would live if every setback automatically became a lesson instead of a label. Imagine making a mistake and immediately asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" Instead of, "What's wrong with me?" Can you feel the difference? One question creates shame. The other creates wisdom. One keeps you looking backward. The other moves you forward. Questions determine direction. That is why the quality of your questions often determines the quality of your life. You may not have noticed this before, but the people who grow the fastest don't necessarily have fewer problems. They ask better questions. Instead of asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" they ask, "What can I control?" Instead of asking, "Why am I so unlucky?" they ask, "How can I become better prepared?" Instead of asking, "When will life become easier?" they ask, "Who is this challenge inviting me to become?" Those questions change everything. Because every answer begins building a different identity. An identity shapes action. Action shapes results. Results reinforce identity. The cycle continues. Change the story. Change the future. There is another distinction that quietly separates those who remain trapped from those who continue growing. It is the difference between a victim mindset and a growth mindset. Now, this doesn't mean difficult things don't happen. They do. Life is sometimes unfair. People disappoint us. Dreams collapse. Loss arrives without invitation. Acknowledging reality isn't weakness. Pretending hardship doesn't exist isn't strength. The difference lies somewhere else. A victim mindset believes the past has permanently decided the future. A growth mindset believes the past has prepared the future. One says, "This happened to me." The other says, "This happened for me to learn something." Notice the difference. The event stays the same. Only the interpretation changes. And yet that single shift can alter an entire lifetime. Imagine standing at the base of a mountain. One person sees only the climb. The other sees the view waiting at the top. Both must walk the same path. But one walks with resentment. The other walks with purpose. Purpose has extraordinary power. Purpose allows people to endure what would otherwise seem unbearable. History proves this repeatedly. Survivors of unimaginable hardship often describe one thing that carried them through. Not certainty, not comfort, meaning. When people discover meaning, they discover endurance. Without meaning, even small inconveniences become overwhelming. This is why your interpretation matters so deeply. Meaning becomes emotional fuel. Without it, motivation disappears. With it, resilience becomes possible. Pause for a moment. What meaning have you attached to your greatest disappointment? Has it convinced you that you're broken? Or has it quietly been preparing you for something you couldn't have understood at the time? Don't answer too quickly. Sit with the question. Because your first answer may simply be the story you've repeated the longest. Sometimes the truth waits underneath the first story. Here's something remarkable about memory. Every time you remember an event, your brain doesn't retrieve it exactly as it happened. It reconstructs it, which means every memory becomes another opportunity to strengthen the story surrounding it. If every recollection reinforces hopelessness, hopelessness grows. If every recollection reinforces wisdom, wisdom grows. This is why gratitude changes people. Not because grateful people have easier lives, but because gratitude teaches the mind to remember differently. It begins noticing gifts hidden inside experiences that once appeared empty. The mentor who arrived because of failure. The friendship that formed because of loss. The opportunity that existed only because another door closed. The confidence that could never have developed without uncertainty. The battle itself may not have been enjoyable, but what it produced can become priceless. Change the story. Change the future. Think about an entrepreneur launching a business. The first year ends in failure. Bills accumulate. Investors lose confidence. Friends quietly suggest finding something safer. From the outside, it appears to be the end. But years later, that same entrepreneur often looks back and says something surprising. "I'm grateful it happened. Not because failure felt good, because failure taught lessons success never could. It revealed weaknesses, improved decision-making, strengthened discipline, developed resilience. Had the first business succeeded, those lessons might never have arrived. Failure became education. Education became wisdom. Wisdom became future success. That pattern appears again and again throughout life. The people we admire most rarely avoided failure. They simply refused to give failure the final word. Instead, they rewrote the story. And every rewritten story created a rewritten future. Now consider your own life. Perhaps there is one chapter you've been reading the same way for years. One disappointment, one mistake, one betrayal, one season of loss, one decision you still regret. Imagine opening that chapter again, not to relive it, but to read it with new eyes. What lesson did it leave behind? What strength did it quietly build? What part of the person you've become today would never have existed without that experience? Those questions don't erase pain. They redeem it. And redemption is one of the most powerful forces in human transformation. Because once pain gains purpose, it begins losing its power to control you. The story changes. The future changes. And perhaps you've been far stronger than your old story has allowed you to believe. There is another truth that quietly changes everything once you see it. Your story is not just something you tell yourself. It becomes something you live. It influences the opportunities you pursue, the conversations you have, the risks you're willing to take, the dreams you believe are possible, and perhaps most importantly, it influences the version of yourself you expect to become. Imagine two people standing before the exact same opportunity. One immediately thinks, "I've never done anything like this before." The other thinks, "This could be the opportunity that changes my life." The opportunity hasn't changed. Only the story has. One story produces hesitation. The other produces curiosity. One creates fear. The other creates movement. Movement is where transformation lives. You see, confidence isn't usually born from certainty. Confidence is born from evidence. And the fastest way to create new evidence is through courageous action. Every small step you take begins challenging the old narrative. Every difficult conversation you finally have, every application you finally submit, every business you finally start, every boundary you finally establish, every apology you finally offer, every dream you finally pursue, each one quietly whispers something your subconscious desperately needs to hear. Maybe the old story isn't true anymore. That single realization can change an entire life. Because once your identity begins shifting, everything else begins shifting with it. You may not have noticed this before, but the most successful people rarely spend their lives trying to prove their old story correct. They spend their lives creating a new one. Someone who grew up believing they weren't intelligent becomes a lifelong learner. Someone who was told they would never succeed builds a business that serves thousands. Someone who experienced rejection becomes the person who encourages others. They don't erase the past. They redeem it. That is one of the greatest acts of personal transformation. Not pretending yesterday didn't happen. Choosing that yesterday will no longer determine tomorrow. Change the story. Change the future. Let those words settle even deeper now. Not as motivation, as truth. Because every chapter of your life is asking the same question. What meaning will you give me? The answer determines whether the chapter becomes a burden or a bridge, whether it becomes an excuse or an education, whether it becomes your identity, or simply one page in a much larger story. Think about some of the greatest stories ever told. The hero is never introduced after everything has already been solved. The hero begins in uncertainty. The hero experiences setbacks. The hero doubts. The hero fails. The hero loses. The hero questions whether continuing is worth the cost. And then something changes. Not the circumstances. They ask for influence but resist discipline. They ask for abundance but refuse growth. Yet every meaningful blessing asks one question before it arrives. Can you carry me? Think about that for a moment. Perhaps life has never been withholding your future. Perhaps it has been preparing you to sustain it. Preparation doesn't always feel exciting. Sometimes preparation feels repetitive. Sometimes it feels invisible. Sometimes it feels like you're making progress that no one else can see. But invisible growth has always preceded visible success. Consider a tree standing hundreds of feet above the ground. People admire its branches, its leaves, its beauty, its strength. Few people think about its roots. Yet the roots determine everything. Long before the tree reached toward the sky, it reached into the earth. Long before anyone admired its height, it developed its foundation. Storms do not create weak roots. Storms reveal whether the roots are deep enough. The same is true for us. Adversity doesn't create your character overnight. It reveals whether you've been developing it all along. And every time you choose integrity over convenience, discipline over distraction, hope over despair, growth over comfort, another root grows deeper. The battle built the strength. Those words are becoming more than encouragement now. They're becoming a lens through which you begin seeing your entire life. Imagine looking back over every difficult chapter you've experienced. The rejection that redirected you, the failure that humbled you, the delay that developed patience, the disappointment that revealed what truly mattered, the closed door that forced you toward the one you never would have considered. How many of those moments felt devastating while they were happening? Probably most of them. Yet how many eventually revealed a lesson you couldn't have learned any other way? Life has a remarkable pattern. It often makes sense looking backward, but it must be lived looking forward. That requires trust, not blind optimism, not pretending difficulties don't exist, but trusting that every experience can become useful if you're willing to learn from it. This is where many people become stuck. They keep reliving the event instead of extracting the lesson. The pain ends, but the story continues. The disappointment passes, but the identity remains. The storm moves on, but they continue carrying it within themselves. Here's something strange about the human mind. It doesn't simply remember experiences. It remembers the meaning attached to those experiences. If you tell yourself, "I failed," your mind searches for more evidence of failure. If instead you tell yourself, "I learned," your mind begins searching for opportunities to apply that lesson. The event remains unchanged, but your future changes completely. That is why meaning matters. Meaning becomes momentum. Momentum becomes direction. Direction becomes destiny. Pause for a moment. What battle have you continued carrying long after it ended? Not physically, mentally, emotionally. Perhaps someone else's opinion still echoes louder than your own. Perhaps one mistake still convinces you that you're incapable. Perhaps one season of loss has become the lens through which you interpret every new opportunity. Now imagine setting that weight down, not pretending it never happened, not denying the pain, but deciding that it will no longer define who you are becoming. How much lighter would you walk? How much bolder would you dream? How much differently would you approach tomorrow? Sometimes freedom isn't found in changing the past. Sometimes freedom is found in changing the relationship you have with the past. The battle built the strength, and strength has a purpose. Strength isn't given so we can admire it. It's given so we can use it. A bridge isn't built simply to stand. It's built to carry others safely across. Likewise, your resilience isn't valuable only because it helped you survive. It becomes truly meaningful when it helps someone else believe they can survive too. Think about the people who have encouraged you throughout your life. Perhaps they weren't the ones with perfect stories. Perhaps they were the ones who had overcome imperfect ones. Their credibility wasn't built by avoiding hardship. It was built by enduring it. Your story has that same potential. One day, your greatest battle may become someone else's greatest source of hope. One conversation, one act of kindness, one moment of honesty, one reminder that healing is possible. Never underestimate what your journey can mean to someone who is still standing where you once stood. The battle built the strength, and now that strength is becoming influence. Influence rooted in authenticity. Influence grounded in compassion. Influence earned through experience. But before you can use your strength to change someone else's life, you must first recognize it within your own. Because the strongest people are often the last to realize how far they've come. They keep comparing themselves to the destination instead of appreciating the distance they've already traveled. They forget that the person who once prayed to survive would be amazed by the person they've become today. Take another moment. Really let this sink in. You have already survived days you once believed would break you. You have already overcome obstacles that once looked impossible. You have already become stronger than a previous version of yourself ever imagined.